Yeah, I remember I went to the San Jose Improv years ago, and I was seeing a comedian. It wasn't a Christian comedian. So the line was kind of it was a mixed bag of people in the line, but it was a long line because there was a long line down half down the block. If you've ever been to San Jose Improv, you know
Yeah.
there's like a train right there.
Yeah, the light rail, yeah.
And a light rail, yeah, the light rail in the middle,
Yeah.
and then there's a sidewalk on the other side.
Yeah.
But also in downtown San Jose, there's randomly you'll have street preachers. They have street preachers. Oh yeah, they have street preachers down
Street
there.
preachers,
Sometimes they have a
come around
megaphone, or they're
every
just
month or
standing.
so. Yep.
And so the street preacher decided he was going to go in the center where the light rail, the little island,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and he's preaching. I'm going, well, he's not going to be able to gather that big of a crowd because he's
Because-
on the island.
Yeah.
And so who's he going to preach to? Then I realized he was preaching to us. He was preaching to the line, the comedy show. So I was kind of far back, so I couldn't quite hear what he was saying. But every now I'd hear him like, "You guys are going to go to hell," and da 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 da. And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh no!" He's like, and so the crowd wasn't receiving him too well.
That's not graceful or gentle or kind or any kind of application of Christianity. Just telling people you don't know they're going to hell.
Yeah, so he was just yelling at the
Supposed to be more
crowd.
gentle than that.
No, it was like humility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
So he was just yelling at the crowd and
Yeah, so
barking at the
God,
crowd,
yeah.
and
Show the compassion of Jesus,
Yeah.
and they're going to a comedy show. So eventually, there starts to be a little murmuring, and people start to yell back at him. F her, da, da, da. So there's like a little back and forth, and so it's like Then all of a sudden, like back further behind, I see this guy walk out of the line. He's like maybe 18, 19, black guy, baggy jeans, big shirt, dreadlocks, kind of rugged looking guy, and he starts walking towards the preacher. I'm like diagonal, like there's a street here, and he's walking like diagonal
Yeah.
in the street.
Oh, yeah, it's always that, yeah.
I'm like,
You thought something was going down.
I'm like, oh. And so like the crowd is kind of yelling, and then as like people start to notice what's going on, it starts to get kind of quiet. So it like takes him a lot. He's like way in the back, so he walks up to the preacher, and then it kind of gets quiet the line, and everybody's like, what's good? So he gets to the preacher, and they're going back and forth, and I'm like, at first I'm like, I thought they were arguing, and then I said, okay, are they just talking? I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. And then eventually the young guy with the dreadlocks, put his head down, and the preacher puts his hand on his head, and he puts his head down. I'm like, I'm not sure
Are you
what's going
witnessing?
on.
Yeah.
And then the preacher starts talking. I was like, is he praying for him? I'm like, wait, what's going on? Is he praying for the guy? So he's like, so this goes on for like a minute and a half, and the whole crowd is quiet. Everybody's looking down. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess they're not going to fight. I'm not sure. And then after about a minute and a half, the guy turns around with his dreadlocks, and he puts his hands up like this. And the surprise thing, the whole line starts cheering.
Yeah.
The whole line starts cheering. So the assumption is he got saved that night. So he got saved. So even though the preacher wasn't preaching how we thought he should preach, but it's So I don't know his story. I don't know if like he grew up in the church and maybe he just was feeling convicted, for the past 2 months and decided, and then he saw an opportunity. He wasn't going to go to church, but he saw an opportunity there, or
These
maybe
young people, they do stuff sometimes and they carry around in their conscience, and they just look for a quick way to maybe get a blessing or something. Terrible things they do, really, and they can't tell anybody about it, but they go to a preacher.
Yeah. Or if like his aunt had talked to him the week
Things are
before
haunting.
or
Things
something.
haunt these guys because they're not, they know right from wrong, and they do wrong so bad. Maybe they rob somebody or something like that, and they want to get it off their chest.
Yeah.
But they don't want to go to jail.
That's it.
They want to repent, but they don't want to go to jail.
Right.
So it's not. So that just goes to show it's not up to us. God causes the growth. So it's not likely that the preachers yelling is what, like he would just randomly there, and then the
Yeah,
preacher
but
yelling
God used him
convict
as a
him.
tool.
So, but
Yeah.
God used him as
Yeah.
a tool. So God is in charge of the growth.
Yeah.
So it's not up to us. So
Preacher might have been like a fire hydrant for a dog. Just there it is. Go over there and do it. But it's working inside the man.
yeah,
The preacher was just there. He's just an icon, and the man went and did his evolution in front of that preacher. Maybe the next day he goes on to do something greater. The
Yeah.
man with the dreadlocks.
yeah, and God grew the seed. So it's up
And
to
the
God
preacher's
to grow
still
the
back
seed.
there in the same spot. The other man has gone on.
Yeah, and they come back. So
Yeah.
so they must periodically get one or two if they keep coming back.
Hey, everybody has their gift. Preaching out on the side is,
Yeah.
if that was my gift, I guess I'd be doing it.
And so so God causes the growth. That's what we want to see. It's not the result of our efforts. So even though it may not be the result of our efforts, so that it may not have been the result of the preacher's effort at all, like we're just talking about. It could have been just an opportunity. God can use anybody. God can use anybody. You have 1 Corinthians 3:5-8.
What then is Apollos? What is Paul? They are servants through whom you believed, and each has the role the Lord has given. I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth, so that neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who gives the growth. And he who plants and he who waters are one, and each one will receive his own reward according to his own labor.
All right. So Paul had went to the Corinthians, and he got them saved, and he left. And then a guy Apollos came in, and I guess he was a great minister. And so after a while, people were kind of like, okay, now I'm a Apollos follower. And people were like, oh, well, no, I'm still a Paul follower. And so Apollos, and so there was like a division. And Paul is saying, I planted, Apollos watered, but neither one of us are great. He's like, don't follow either of us. We're just servants. He was like, don't give us any recognition. I'm just a servant. Apollos is just a servant. He said, one plants, the other waters, but it's up to God to cause the growth.